Our film opening, The Decoy, comes from the subgenre of political thriller. This uses the conventions of real film openings but also challenges them. From our research, we found political thrillers such as The Interpreter and Spy Game. The one thing these films have in common is that they have male protagonists. Instead of following these conventions, we decided to challenge this. We decided to take inspiration from the film The Interpreter, since the main character is Nicole Kidman, who is a female. We used this in our film opening for our character, Riann, who is the actual terrorist. This is probably one of the main ways we've challenged real film openings, as it doesn't conform to stereotypical views of the male being the terrorist. However, we have also conformed to many of the forms and conventions shown in real film openings. For example, we have an interrogation scene which was in The Interpreter and clearly shows the political aspects of the film. One of our settings was an airport, which has many connotations such as terrorism. This was inspired by the terminal, as it shows great shots of the airport in the film opening. Moreover, we decided to add a news report, which we edited on Final Cut Pro, which develops the forms and conventions of real film openings, which uses political thriller genre.
The social groups that we have chosen to represent is meeting a stereotype of Asian males. This ethnicity has been represented to be shown as terrorists, as it has been portrayed in the past. We looked at post 9/11 and also World Trade Centers that have been based on terrorism and have included Asian males. The gender of terrorists to be males, and we use this as we also have a male who is suspected of terrorism. The costume that helps to meet the stereotype is because Hanish is wearing a turban, which highlights his nationality, and also he is from Asia. The countertype to the social class are Asian females, as we have shown them to be successful, as Mahwish, who is constructing the roles of an officer, as he is also Asian. Another example of this countertype is the use of Amel, who is shown to be undertaking the news report, even though she is a female and also black, who is working at the BBC, whilst Riann, on the other hand, who is a countertype to Amel, who is Asian and also has involvement in the terrorist plot which she is undertaking.
We decided to use Universal as our media institution, as it is a successful one and has many other companies under its huge umbrella. This is one of the reasons we chose this media institution to distribute our product, as the audience is more likely to be attracted to a film distributed by a successful institution than a film distributed by an institution not that successful in its sales. Another reason why we chose Universal is because the institution in the past has distributed films which match our genre. An example of this is United 93 2006, which was very successful in the box office, making a whopping £49 million. Using a big company such as Universal to distribute our media product would be useful, as it has an international audience. For example, if we were to use a smaller company such as Film 4 Productions to distribute our product, it wouldn't be able to reach out to the US, limiting the size of the audience of our product, which is why we use Universal, as it already attracts its US audience with ease given its reputation. This will then allow us to make as much money as we can at the box office.
The main audience for our film opening, The Decoy, is targeted towards 16 to 21-year-olds. We arrived at this age group since from our questionnaire we found that all 6 out of 18 teenagers enjoyed watching thrillers. Some went on to say that it sounded interesting with the political aspects along with the thriller. We aim to ask a variety of people with different ages to get an objective view, but since our target audience is 16 to 21-year-olds, we asked more of them in hoping to gain a real insight of what they think about our film opening and whether they could watch it. In doing this, it appeared that people who are 41 and over had seen most of the films. Therefore, through this questionnaire, not only would this attract our target audience of 16 to 21-year-olds, but it has also hit a greater audience. In terms of a male or female lead, there was a 50-50 view. This resulted in 5 out of 18 people choosing a female, 5 out of 18 people choosing a male, and then there were 8 out of 18 opting for don't mind. So, as a group, we decided to choose a female protagonist, which goes against the stereotypical views of a male being a terrorist. This would also appeal to men as an audience for our film opening, as 8 out of 18 didn't mind, as we asked our target audience if they would want a male or female role. The majority didn't mind either, so this made us sure that 16 to 21-year-olds would be the audience for our film opening, along with 41 years old and over.
Attracting our audience was crucial for our film opening to be successful. This meant we had to find ways to appeal to our target audience. This was achieved by knowing our audience's likes and dislikes and developing our idea through the feedback they had given back. Thinking about a targeted audience was highly important, as everything else would be judged around that. This was conveyed through a tally graph which shows 75% of 16 to 25-year-olds who would be watching, and therefore creating a film opening suitable for that targeted age group. This was then knowingly going to attract our target audience and keep them eager to witness a film opening twist. Attracting our audience meant using questionnaires and word of mouth to find out who would benefit from our film opening. This meant finding out whether they preferred a male or female as the main character. It was an equal amount of opinions, creating a sense of freedom to choose a female instead of a stereotypical male as our leading role. Finding out what was the most important genre, however, didn't lead towards our chosen genre. It still showed us that it wasn't the worst and perhaps could become successful if we were able to create an interesting storyline, whereas the foreign genre was the first shown in the questionnaire, having only 1%. Having come up with the vital questions for our audience, we realised that these questions were a big help in able to interact with our audience, as it gave us a huge insight on what we could and shouldn't add in our film opening. By using the key information given through the graphs, questionnaires, and word of mouth, it became easier to address media product to our target audience, as we knew what they wanted to see through our questionnaires. Our film opening would be shown in a multiplex cinema in contrast with an art house to show how customer-friendly our thriller opening is. By exhibiting our film opening in a multiplex cinema, we were aiming for it to be a success at the box office, as it was a universal distribution and production, and they usually exhibit their films in this way, allowing them to reach out to a wider audience and making a great amount of money.
Whilst producing our film, the technology that we used for editing was Final Cut Pro. The tools that we used on Final Cut Pro was the blade tool, which allowed us to make sure that we could make adjustments. The reason for that was because we wanted to make sure that we could get rid of any mistakes that we made, and also cut the size of the clips down if we needed only certain parts from them. We also included effects in our opening. We used transitions, which allowed us to make sure that we had continuity in our work. For the editing of the soundtrack, we also used Final Cut Pro, as it allowed us to make sure that we had the right sound, which we could edit later on. The layout of our clip was on a timeline, which was also on Final Cut Pro. With the hardware side, we used two different cameras. The first camera was up, as they both were SLRs, we got the chance to experiment both. We also used the green room, as we could get rid of the green screen, which was the background. A good example of the green screen was Amel onto the BBC report, which we initially filmed in front of the green screen.
I felt that the preliminary task was necessary for us to produce a good film opening. We were given 4 basic rules to demonstrate in this task. These were to show continuity, match on action, a technique that connects two different views of the same action or movement from 2 different angles, shot reverse shot, and the 180-degree rule in our preliminary task. These 4 techniques helped us massively while editing the actual film opening, as it helped us to recognise where our filming didn't look professional. For example, between the locker scene and the airport scene, we felt that the 2 scenes didn't have anything in the middle to connect them. To fix this, we added a scene of Riann in the mirror doing her makeup and then exiting through a door to provide continuity. Our group decided to delete the scene during the last few weeks, as it added unnecessary time to the film opening, and because we could have done without it. The task helped us to remember to be more careful and cautious when filming and replaying back to make sure everything was fine, as in the preliminary task, our sound, for example, wasn't quite up to scratch, and was too low. We made sure this, along with other things, wasn't a problem in our film opening. The preliminary task also helped us become more confident with a camera and tripod, as not all of us had previous experience with the two. The task helped us get used to and recognize the editing software Final Cut Pro that we had to use for the film opening too. This was a big help as it helped us get to know the basics, if anything, of the software and its interface. The fact that we did have a very basic task to do, like in our preliminary task, and therefore had creative freedom, allowed us to act out the alternate ideas we had in our film opening. In a way, this was also quite hard as we needed to portray our ideas in our film openings professionally in order to make the whole thing look presentable. This required a lot of planning and filming extra scenes. As seen on our planning page, our script and storyboard had changed because of this, for our ideas to be put out there, as well as making the whole thing flow well. Overall, I believe that the preliminary task helped us in more ways than I thought, and was good preparation in order for us to produce a well-constructed film opening.